So, Jay, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in the last Epoch? How did you find the game? And what was it that ultimately made you start streaming it?
Oh man, I love this story because it starts with a game that I'm sure is near and dear to all our hearts. Walson, Lords of Mayhem.
Well, that already took
I
a turn. Okay.
Well, that's a word to
yeah.
describe Wilson. Yes.
I wanted to play an ARPG, and I'd bought Walson because it was big at the time. It'd like just come out, right? And I think it was like a month or two later. I had taken a break, come back after all the horrible, horrible bugs with it, and just it being near unplayable. Hopped in, went into what is their like equivalent of monos or maps or whatever. Immediately got pulled through a wall by like a mob. Got stuck. I had to just exit out of the game, and I closed it there and then. And I bought Last Epoch when I went and looked on the ARPG games on Steam. That was about it. And then next thing I know, I'd sunk like 200 hours into the game in the first 2 weeks, and yeah. And in terms of streaming, it was actually my ex-girlfriend said I should do it because she thought it might be interesting or something I would enjoy because I was always watching streamers, and I was like, you know what, fine, let's give it a go. And it seems to be doing all right so far.
And she liked hearing the dulcet tones of your voice, which is just I'm glad that you've graced the rest of us with that as well.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Thank
nice
you.
having some UK representation in Last Epoch. So
Yeah, definitely.
the nice follow up basic question for inviting people onto this podcast here is, one of the purposes of Last Week of Epoch is highlighting people in the community, getting to know them, and then finding out what your content is all about. So if somebody finds you on Twitch or YouTube or Twitter, whatever you do have, what should someone expect to see from your content?
Well, at the moment, I mostly just play builds that I think look fun and try and optimize them as best as I can. Get characters to level 100. When I'm done with a character, I usually make a finished planner for it. And I have a link to that on my Twitch channel so that if other people come into the stream, they can view my builds and see ones that I know will definitely work and carry them through to level 100, empowered monos, do well in arena. I very much have the mindset where I prefer builds to be good in both aspects of the game rather than just one. So I do tend to lean a little bit more towards meta builds and stuff, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I definitely feel better recommending builds like that to new players. And this is something I haven't done yet, but I'm looking to start a YouTube series soon, but I'm not going to spoil it just yet.
Is that soon, like as soon as you decide to do the face reveal so we can know what you look like?
No, it's a couple of days away. I
Okay.
made the thumbnail with Dread tonight, so
So speaking of like content creation, stuff like that, from a third person perspective, I think there's maybe two things that come to mind when I think about like why somebody might know who you are, right?
yeah.
So the
I think
first is a certain pair of gloves that you introduced to the game. Do you want to talk about that?
sure, why not? Yeah, JayTheProduct here, creator of Salt the Wound, single-handedly got Poison Lich nerfed into the ground. Not really, though. That was mostly Arborist, but yeah, I did buy the 1K creator pack, which, looking back, dear lord, a lot of money, but it was 100% worth it. I really enjoyed the experience, and I'm very, very happy to have like an item as good as they are, like immortalized in the game, right? Like even years down the line, they'll still be in, right? So that's really awesome.
And I've got my rack of Salt the Wound that I'll use just in case I need to someday. But now I
Yeah,
need to go farm up a whole new set of them with some LP on them. So I'm excited to
yeah.
find some upgrades for it.
I've seen some with like tier 6, tier 7 attack speed, and
It's so good.
oh,
So the other thing that somebody might know you for, so you mentioned that you did some collaborations with Dread, which is
yep.
Epoch builds on Twitch and on YouTube as well. So you've been highlighted in one of his videos, which I kind of like that he does this. He doesn't only do his own work, but he also like grabs builds from the community and highlights people who have been working on them for a long time. So do you want to talk a bit about that build?
Well, It's not necessarily my build, but it does get pinned to me a lot more than the actual creator, Jimji. But by our powers combined, I like to think anyway, we came up with the idea of Turbo Smite, which is probably still to this day my all-time favorite build in Last Epoch. So VK, you're using the chance to cast Smite on throwing attack hits, getting huge amounts of increased damage by stacking Vitality. It's just an absolute blast to play. I really appreciate Dread for giving me the opportunity to showcase that.
And you and I are just playing around with some kind of like paladin version of that I might be using hardcore to kill some tier 4 dungeon bosses. So the build is very much so alive and well and extremely satisfying. So that's good to know. All right, so with that done, I need to do just a tiny bit of catching up with these co-hosts here because I don't know what Grim and Cynical have been up to. Cynical, can I start with you? I know you just finished school recently, but what are you doing? What games are you playing? You playing some Last Epoch?
I have been playing some Last Epoch. Fun story. I thought I was doing something cool, and it turns out I was just doing something that Dread had already done a video for, since we just mentioned Dread.
He makes too many videos. It's whatever.
He does. He makes too many videos, but it made me feel good because I was basically on the exact same page as him. So, like, clearly I was doing something right for once in the game, which is a nice switch for me. I had taken the Flame Burst Paladin build that, he had already put out, and I had got a really good devotion drop with LP2 on it. So I went and put that in there and geared it more towards being like a Smite build instead of a Warpath build. And that's pretty much all I've been playing recently. And then I was like, man, I wonder if anybody else has done something similar to this, and went and searched Devotion on Last Epoch tools. And sure enough, Dread already has a video for it. It's already updated. And I'm like, all right, well, at least I'm on the right track. Sweet, this will work. That's pretty much all I've done.
I try to tell people like from Path of Exile or Last Epoch or like whatever you're doing, but if you're playing a build and like someone else has already combined those two items, like don't let that get you down. Like there's only so many like you put Smite on in a devotion build, like you combined those, like they have the word written on them, like right. So like somebody else might have thought of that. That's okay. All right, Grim, what about you? I know you've been super busy touring the continental United States these days, but you playing any games? You playing some Last Epoch?
No, but I have been watching people's streams from time to time and stream sniping just to see all the fun that everybody's been having in Last Epoch without me. So I've got to catch a couple people that were super excited, made a few legendaries, got to see that happen firsthand. I thought that was really neat. So, but for the most part, just been out on the road, enjoying my job, and when I get a chance, stream sniping you guys.
Is there a moment that you want to share? Like maybe somebody like dinged level 100, maybe someone narrowly killed the boss or made a sweet new legendary item?
The only one I seen somebody make that was a legendary was it was a doublet of Ono's Tool. And they were doing the exact same thing that I was doing, which was putting the extra minion duration on it. So, and that was the idea I had. So hopefully they make something good out of that build. I'll have to check back and see what they're working on with it, but it looked pretty neat.
Good. So I have to admit, oftentimes we bring someone onto the podcast so that we can highlight what they're up to and talk generally about things that are going on with the patch. And there's plenty of catching up that I want to do with Jay here, but we actually have something very specific that we want to talk about today. So this is a topical podcast now that we can get into it. Jay, there was something that's been on your mind recently, right?
I don't want to be toxic, man.
No,
but yeah.
if you want to be toxic, you let your true colors out, okay?
I am genuinely concerned, as like silly as that sounds, about the state of power creep in Last Epoch at the moment. I was talking to Foe about it today, and even he is concerned about it. Legendary items are dope. I've got a Rain of Winter with tier 6 attack speed. I've got Morning Frost with tier 6 hybrid life. Like, I'm blasting. I'm having a great time. But there's no aspirational content currently to put these insane legendary items to the test. Like, any build, if you have enough time at your disposal, can go to like not wave 500, sorry, 500 corruption, 1,000 corruption. You just gotta keep going at it, right? And arena, you can't really ever outscale after a certain point, you know? So I feel like the past couple patches now in a row, we've had lots of really strong uniques. We had class-specific prefixes, and now we've had legendaries. And it's just content isn't really getting harder. We had the Act 9 mobs come in, but it's not quite what I mean by harder, you know? There's just nothing to really test out the true level of power creep that we're experiencing currently.
So legendary items are literally, almost literally, and like in the case of a 4LP, you're taking 2 good items and you're doubling how much gear you have, right?
Yep.
Like you're taking unique, you take an exalt, and all of a sudden you're wearing 2 pairs of gloves, 2 body armor, 2 amulets, and you're getting like twice as much power, right? So it's a good point. Like we certainly have a lot of power creep. I can't help but think to myself that complaining about power creep when the game is in early access might be jumping the gun.
I don't know. I think that is a bad thing. Actually, I would argue the opposite. That
all right, tell
if
me,
we're already experiencing this level of power creep in early access, what's it going to be like when multiplayer drops? When we've got all the other subclasses, when we got Falconer, when we got what's the other one, Warlock, and
Rune Master.
The Rune Master. Like, if we're already at this point where we're struggling to put ridiculous builds to the test, like, is it only going to get stronger as they introduce more uniques into the game? And like maybe we got the sealed affixes now, right? What if they hit a point and they're like, actually, maybe 5 affixes just suits rares more than 4? Like, I think it's a slippery slope.
You think it's a slippery slope?
I do.
So you started.
Look at
it gets me. Like you started out the conversation like you're worried about power creep. We have like 2 helmets, and now you're wearing 1 helmet. And you W affixes, and you started out the conversation by saying that you are blasting and having so much fun.
I am having a lot of fun.
That's good
at the moment, right?
Okay.
But like 6 months down the line, when I've been blasting and having fun for 6 months, but the content I've been blasting and having fun with hasn't changed, or they've introduced other content that is still at the same level, and I currently don't feel challenged. Even in like the tier 4 dungeons,
sure.
Like I just don't really feel challenged with the game, especially compared to like, not to. This might be a little controversial, but especially considering Path of Exile just released all this new aspirational content this league, right?
It's true. It's true. Now, to be fair, one of the ongoing conversations in Path of Exile is how do we trim content out of our game because there is too much content, right? So I like comparing Path of Exile to Last Epoch as well, but Last Epoch is still in early access, and Path of Exile has been out for 11, 12 years at this point.
Yeah,
it's got more content. Path of Exile has more content than like any game in the world. It has a tremendous amount of content, right? If you're actually like, sitting down to get there. So I've typed something into Twitch chat because I needed to reference my own chat commands real quick. But there's a roadmap, a forecast that the EHG devs have put out for patch 0.3, looking forward into patch 0.4. And we're already in patch 0.4, so this is a little bit dated, but it does point forward even into the future about what the devs are planning on implementing past this current patch. So this is what I wanted to read to you real quick. This is just like 5 bullet points, right? So we have 3 more chapters in the storyline coming, which could introduce more monsters, just like chapter 9 monsters, were a big increase in difficulty. We have more dungeons. Remember, the current dungeon that we just got introduced is only 1, and we're going to have more of those in the future. We're going to have lost memories, which we don't know what that is.
Yeah, we don't know what most
it's an entire new system, right? Yeah. We have the favor system, which we don't know what endgame stuff that's going to bring either. We have an endgame system called Epoch's Call, which we don't know what that is. And we have another endgame system called the Gates of Memoriam, which, not to sound like a broken record, but we don't know what that is. So like I hear what you're saying about wanting more aspirational content, but we've got so many things that look like aspirational
They
content.
could be, yeah, they very well could be. But if the current dungeon is what they consider aspirational content, I personally am not particularly happy with it.
You don't like the tier 4 jeweler killing the boss over and over?
I do. And the first time I tried it, I think I sunk like 12 or 15 keys into it, you know,
Sure.
before I
And
got
like
it
you
down.
learn the fight, you die over and
Yeah.
over.
But once, okay, I don't know about you, but the thing that really got me at first was I think I died way more times to the initial like big void AoE she does than I have any right to. Like that should have only killed me once. But once I got all that down, it's kind of like, oh well, I don't feel any real risk. Maybe I need to play hardcore. Maybe that's what it is. I need that. I need the adrenaline rush. I need to actually feel the risk, feel the weight.
Are you going to join me in hardcore fun? I'm still scared of going into tier 4 jeweler in hardcore.
Yeah, I mean exactly, right? I heard you talking about it on the stream, man. Even lag on, you know, the timeline. You were like Act 9 mobs, whereas I'm like, I'm just gonna hop on Turbo Smite and one shot literally everything up until like I mean I'm at 500 corruption on multiple timelines and everything still just falls over. You know, I don't know. I don't know what more I could really do outside of just playing bad. I'm using air quotations now. Bad builds, right? But maybe I need to play hardcore. Maybe I need to like put myself in a position where the content becomes scary. Maybe it's more an issue that there's no real death penalty at the moment. I don't feel like there's any risk or any loss to what I'm doing. So maybe that's why it doesn't feel as aspirational as other games do.
Well, we don't really have like an end to the corruption, right?
No.
Hey, Graham, go ahead.
It's never too late to become a necromancer main, Jay.
I could do it. But A-bomb's good, okay? A-bomb's good. That's what I'd play. Can't help myself. Gotta play the best. I need to play a Tempest Strike Shaman in hardcore. That's
we don't talk about
either we talking about Tempest Strike? What's up? Look,
there's so many worthwhile conversations that don't involve Shaman or Tempest Strike. Like, let's find some of those conversations first.
I do think he brings up a good point though about like, especially once you get to a point that Jay's at with his Turbo Smite build, like there's literally no penalty to him dying at this point. His gear's pretty much where he wants it to be. There's always, you know, small percentage increases, I guess, until you get max roll and everything where your build can be better. But like once you have most of your equipment set up and you've got all your, you know, all your skills are level 20 and all that stuff, like dying a softcore doesn't mean anything. There's no penalty to it. You miss out on like some loot, but again, if his loot's already basically maxed out, then okay, cool. I missed out on some idols. Great. That's awesome, I guess. But like, yeah, like I do think that's a problem that the end game has, but it's also a problem that only exists for people like us who play this game way more than we probably should.
Isn't this like an early access? Like, I want to be sensitive because like Jay's concern makes sense, but right, but you're talking about your Turbo Smite character. You've had your Turbo Smite character put together for a while. You don't reset your account. There's no leagues. You don't lose all your gear every time there's a new patch. You just like a new patch comes out. Jay's extremely well geared character who's been around for the past 9 months walks up to it and blows it over. And it's like, well, yeah, of course you're going to feel that way. You have a bunch of gear already. Your character is awesome already. You're not restarting. You're not doing like an SSF refresh or something like that. But
I do play SSF quite frequently. You're right that my Turbo Smiter, it's got however many hundreds of hours of gameplay into it. It's not a very fair comparison.
Right.
But I don't doubt I mean, you start characters relatively frequently, and you get to the same point, really, don't you? I mean, you can slap together a character that's capable of pushing all the content in the game within a weekend, and it's frequently done in the Vision tourneys.
But legendary items don't really change that.
No.
Legendary items allow me to continue having fun after my good character is put together with B plus A minus gear.
Mm-hmm.
Because like my gear didn't get worse, it's still B plus A minus. But now instead of topping out at tier 20 or tier 21, we also have, you know, tier 25, tier 26 sealed items, and then legendary items to like go make after that. So like, yeah, I mean, I can still make good characters in a weekend. I can still make good characters for 1 week, but like, it's the fun part after that, like farming up exactly the legendary items you want. But like, if those legendary items never leave your economy, if you never delete them, if you never do a refresh, then once you make 1 sick pair of gloves with like 3 LP on them with exactly what you want, you're always going to have them. And like, you're always going to run into the same problem. Like the next time that a patch comes out, you're going to steamroll it because you already have good gear. I think that's an early access problem.
I don't know. I think we're thinking it from completely different ends of the spectrum, where I'm like surprised that this is a concern I'm already having in early access, where you're like, oh, this is an early access problem. This is something you would expect.
Yeah.
And that's why
absolutely I would expect
that's all
this.
it is. Yeah. That's why I'm a little bit more like, I didn't think this would be something on my mind this early on into the game's life cycle. But I do agree that once we have leagues and the economy is being reset, like a lot of these issues and concerns are just going to fall away.
And like I want to keep your concern in the back of my mind as a talking point, right?
Yeah.
But like I read off the roadmap to you already, right? We have 5 more different end game system looking things that are yet to be implemented in the game. It's like all of those sound really impactful. Like I don't have any idea what they are. So I'd rather just kind of wait for those and then like keep this worry in the back of my head. And if it keeps being relevant by the time 1.0 rolls out, then yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, am I worried for power creep? This is an action RPG. Power creep is the name of the game.
Have you played Diablo 3? Have you played Diablo 3?
Literally, no, never.
There is such a thing.
I've never played
Such a thing as too much power creep. Trust me.
All right. So,
but no, you're right. I agree.
I tried to prepare myself for this conversation, to chat with you about power creep. And one thing that came up a couple times was like, not just like having more difficult content, but also having faster, sooner, earlier access to the difficult content. Because Arena exists and it scales infinitely, and it kind of sucks. I don't really like it that much, but it is difficult content, but it also takes hours to get there. And it's really, I don't know, it's strenuous just to get, sit down and blast wave after wave just to get to the fun content, right? And what do you call it? The corruption on the monolith web is much the same way. Like, once my character can get to, 100 corruption, getting to empowered monoliths, getting to 200, 300, 400, it's probably not too much of a struggle if I'm playing a strong meta build and I'm an experienced player. But like, I want to get to 700 or 800 corruption, but it takes so flipping long. And by the time that I even get there, I'd rather just re-roll and play something else. So what are your thoughts about like access to difficult content?
I would love to see a steeper curve in the corruption, because I think that's probably the piece of content that the most amount of people access, right? Like, definitely. A lot of people don't ever touch Arena, but everybody does corruption. And yeah, I would love to be able to, on a fresh character, like the first shade I kill, give me like 50 corruption, if I'm in empowered. Something like that. Maybe not 50, but just let us get up to that plateau a little bit sooner, right?
Do I need to do 10 corruption at a time? I've been using the catch-up mechanic recently, and like the catch-up feels great, right? So like, you have one monolith that's at 300, and then you go down to your 100 monolith, and the first Aerobus that you do gives you like 90 corruption. It's like, this is some good pacing all of a sudden. I'm into it.
It's great if you're at like 500, 600, 700 corruption. You go into one you haven't touched yet. You kill a shade, and it's instantly putting you at like 300 to 400, and
deal.
And then you can feel just how much of an impact that makes. But I would definitely like to be able to get up to that point sooner earlier and just have it keep ticking along a lot longer, because getting to 500 corruption and onwards is such a slog, especially once you get to the point in the higher corruptions where you're stacking up a lot of really damaging mods and it's getting really scary, and you see a shade and you're like, I'm going to kill that and reset this timeline, but it's only giving you like 2 or 3 corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you can't really push out much further because you just want to reset it. You just want to go again, you know?
But
Especially
then,
once you start getting to the point where you can get the rarer loot from Shade, like Omnis and stuff like that.
but 100 corruption before that, you don't really feel like you're pushing against any kind of difficulty.
Exactly.
It's like all of a sudden, like 400, easy peasy, 450, easy peasy, 500, oh, it's fun. It's like, oh,
yeah,
this is where I want to be. I just want to be there sooner. So
Yeah, I would
something
love-
along those lines, something along the
Faster.
lines of like faster access or more access. Maybe there's like different avenues that I could pursue, where I could just like get there faster through corruption or arena. Something along those lines would be really nice. And I don't think that even has to do with legendary items. Like, legendary items are sweet, they're busted, they're super fun, and they're really powerful. But this has been a concern before then too. Yeah, I mean, there is harder content. I just want to get there sooner.
Yeah, I mean, the game isn't balanced around legendaries, right? At all. That's why they're as strong as they are, because if the game was balanced around legendaries, it'd probably be a lot harder. But, like, I think this might be a bit controversial, and a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with this, but I would like to see more correlation between arena and monos. Maybe, like, if you can do 300 waves in arena, maybe your baseline corruption level in empowereds is higher, like 200, or it's a 1-to-1 ratio maybe, and it's 300, and something of that kind of. I want my progress to carry over, right? Ultimately,
I
If
actually
I-
love that. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
Something
so that
like
seems like
that,
a
right?
fantastic idea.
I just know a lot
sign
of
me up.
people. A lot of people really don't like arena, right? Like,
But
really
if
hate
get
it.
to
Even
200
though,
waves once, and then it boosts your base corruption up to 200 everywhere else. Done. That sounds really cool.
I mean, it would get a lot
Sounds
more people on the
amazing.
leaderboards, wouldn't it?
Sure
Right? Yeah.
would.
I don't even get why people don't like arena, really. I mean, sure, after a while it's repetitive and it's just difficult for the sake of difficult, but it's just killing stuff. You're in an action ARPG, an action role-playing game where you just kill stuff.
But
What's bad with killing more stuff? Yeah, that's
Nothing
true.
drops. There's
the rewards
literally
in
no
arena.
reward for doing arena.
The rewards in arena have needed buffing for so long now. Like, dear Lord, just come on, give us something. Cracking the who does even crack the barrels most of the time? But when you do, and you see like one rare plop out that
It's
actually
garbage.
displays on your loot filter, yeah.
You're not farming like the arena blessing, where like the god of war comes out and gives you a blessing, right? Like, you're not farming loot, you're not farming exalted, you're not farming legendary items or unique items, or
Actually,
I want to make a joke about set items, but like, I've taken them off my loot filter. I don't even know what set items are anymore.
yeah,
So,
I was about to say, like, we don't want to
put
talk about
something
that.
there.
It's holy crap. I actually like the idea you just mentioned, like an arena blessing. Give me an arena blessing. Give me a reason to play arena more, because like I actually legitimately enjoy arena. It's a lot of fun. I just feel like there's no point in playing it because it doesn't help me progress my character at all. Like, there's no good loot. I don't get to farm corruption or anything. It's literally just a, like, I can go kill 45 minutes to an hour doing these endless waves, and yeah, it's fun, but my character's not any better than it was previously. I could have spent that 45 minutes to an hour running monoliths, getting loot, possibly getting legendary potential loot now.
You
Doesn't
could
give you good XP anymore,
you could get on the leaderboard right under the person who has 15,000 waves. Right under that.
I wasn't
person.
going to say anything, but we're going there.
I was gonna say too. Another thing they could do is they could add like a more Uber Orbis fight and just have Orbis have every single one of his skills, the shade, and just let him use every single one of them, all the blood, all the lightning, everything. And if you can kill it, you get like plus 150 corruption automatically. Have it have like double health too and deal like double damage. So if you get touched by anything, one shot. make it that much harder.
That's
Aerobus-
aspirational content right there.
Aerobus is an interesting fight. So Aerobus is it's a fight that is very modular, and you can make it like harder or like more simple if you wanted to as a developer in a number of ways. You could, instead of having the shade by itself, you could have the shade on your monolith web always have a modifier, or maybe even always have 2 modifiers on it, because currently it doesn't have any modifier. So if you like progress through your monolith web the right way, you could fight an Aerobus every single time that has no additional, increased monster health, increased monster damage, no enrage, or anything like that. So you could make it harder in a number of ways by putting those modifiers back on there. You could make the arena bigger, you make the arena smaller, put 2 Aerobus in there. You could, it's like, there's so many options with the way that they've set up, the Aerobus fight, and even just like the monolith web itself allows for those kind of levers. So like, it seems like such an easy system. Like if they want to make it harder, they can make it harder. And that's the kind of thing that makes me not so concerned about power creep. Like we have got a lot of power right now. We've been joking about poison builds that are popping out 44 million DPS and just like killing Julra in the tier 4 dungeon in like 5 seconds or 7 seconds or 7.2 seconds. It's like, yeah, that's kind of outrageous. But like, should the devs really be fixing that? Or should the devs be just working on the rest of the content? Because this is like an early access game and they've got their Kickstarter goals to worry about.
Yeah, I agree. It's not saying that I'm not saying devs need to deal with this right now. I actually agree with you completely. It's just I just thought it being an interesting topic of conversation, really.
No, Jay, I didn't mean to shoot you down.
No. Because I've spoken to lots of people about it, and a lot of them agree that yeah, power creep is moving steadily up, right? And has been since I started playing in. When did they release boss DR scaling?
Before my time, so before a year ago.
Okay, that
That
was
was
the
before I
patch
started.
I started in, and I thought everything was great. I was like, this game feels awesome. I love fighting bosses in this, and then the forums were just on fire because everybody hated boss DR scaling, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm having fun, And I think maybe that's what it is because I played in a point where there was a lot less power creep, right? And now just seeing multiple patches in a row where it's just getting more and more ridiculous. Like the rogue alone coming into the game was like, dear Lord, that was insane, right? Just compared to, I'm a Sentinel main, man. I'm a Sentinel main. Seeing the rogue in comparison was just depressing, honestly. Sentinel rework was great though. Like I didn't like it at the time, but having played it now for like, cool, Sentinel rework's been out a while, hasn't it, actually? But I think they've absolutely smashed it when it comes to the class reworks. I can't wait for like the mage. Mage has got to be up for a rework, right? That's probably the oldest class in the game right now.
I've heard talk that Paladin is actually going to get a rework before then.
They better fucking not, I swear to God. Forge Guard needs a rework. Forge Guard was the only class that didn't get significant reworks in the Sentinel base class, and
Manifest Armor. Manifest Armor has basically gotten a rework because of legendary items, by the way. It's so
I hopped
busted.
on my Manifest Armor guy this morning just to see what it would do with a couple of pieces of gear I slapped on, and it was already hitting for 750,000 damage on the dummy. Like that build is stupid.
I want to point out before we get too far away from this, like for the concerns that Jay brings up, you sure use the word fun a lot. It seems like you really enjoy Last Epoch. Because you keep telling me like this thing's so fun, this thing's so fun. I love doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's why
good.
I have these concerns, because I love the game, right?
I hear that. Back to the topic of power creep. I want to run something by you. What do you think about 4 LP items specifically? Because there's no gambling involved there. It's like deterministic. You get to put exactly these 4 modifiers onto an item.
If I had my way, I mean, well, one, I think they're fun. To use that word again, they're fun. Who doesn't like literally just doubling whatever the hell you're wearing? But if I had my way, I'd probably limit it to 2.
You'd limit
Maybe
it to 2?
3. Yeah, maybe 3, but probably 2. Because let's be real here. If you can get 2 extra stats, be it resistances or some really nice prefixes, like on any piece of gear, it's already better than like a rare item with a sealed affix on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you get wait, can you get? No, ignore me. Don't worry, I'm completely getting confused here. But yeah, no, I think 2 would be fine. Like really, and I mean,
I feel like
how many
4 is
+4s have
busted.
you seen?
Oh, me 0. But you see
Yeah.
some pop up on Reddit, and like one person gets it in Twitch chat, and then they go around to every other Twitch channel and share, and they flex how good their item is, right? So
Yeah.
there's a handful of 4 LPs floating around people have made, and they're all just really dumb.
Yeah, they are. I would like to see maybe the frequency of some +1s and +2s appearing on certain pieces of gear. Like Humming Bee has a higher or has less chance to have legendary potential than a Rain of Winter and Morning Frosts. It's a fucking Humming Bee. Pardon my language. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this?
No, you can do swear.
Yeah,
This is fine. It's
sure.
it is strictly Amarathi's fault. That
Yeah,
is the case.
literally. Damn. God, he's so handsome. Ugh.
So I mean, listen, I've played a lot of Path of Exile. I like to do some gamble crafting and valing my items, trying to get +1 socketed gems. But when it comes to like slamming something with LP and like trying to get the right modifier on it, like 1 is like it's a 1 in 4 chance, and it's like it's never gonna happen, right? And like 2 is like, okay, 2 is pretty good odds, like a 50-50 that you're gonna get the modifiers you're looking for. But like once you get to 3 and 4, I don't like 4 LP at all. I think it's like it's the difference between 3 and 4 is like you're probably gonna get exactly what you want, as opposed to like this is going to happen. And I don't like that. I want some kind of gamble crafting in the is that bad of me? Am I not supposed to want that?
No, I love the gamble. I agree 100%. And okay, so this is something that I know people will not like to hear, and I'm going to call out Foe here because he said it to me,
Go
and
on.
I agreed with him. I think legendaries devalue exalted to an extent because if you get an exalted item, then you no longer just have the holy shit, this has a lot of life on it, or like, oh wow, that's a +3 to a skill. You're like, now I need to get a unique item that I can cram this into. It's like, it gives them more value, but I'd say the actual overall experience of dropping GG Exalted is somewhat less exciting because realistically, you're just like, okay, well now I just need to cram it into a unique item with legendary potential.
Would that be different if LP were limited at 2 instead of 3 and 4?
I would say so because it's more of a gamble, isn't it? It's more risk. You might not get exactly what you want. Then you're more like, maybe I should hold on to this exalted item until I get something similar.
So there are reasons not to turn an exalted item into a legendary item, right? Because there might not be a base that you want to slap it onto, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like maybe you
Especially
want.
like
Is there like a winged helmet? Like what's a good example? Maybe like a relic base that has like the right damage implicit modifier on it. Like maybe there's not one that has the right implicit modifier, so you don't want to slap your exalted item onto it. So that's one example, right? Like why you wouldn't want to make a legendary. Or sealed modifiers. Sealed modifiers are really good. And the whole sealed modifier crafting experience is totally separate from the process of making a legendary item.
I really like the sealed affix.
Sealed is great. I like that too.
One of the first things I did in the patch was seal one of my rings on my marksman, and like it's just actually insane what we can do with the sealed affixes. I think that overall, I probably prefer them to the legendary system, even though I do really like the legendary system. Like, don't get me wrong, like all this is fun, and I say, oh, power creep bad, but like I'm still having a really good time with Last Epoch, and I don't think we're in any danger of the game flat out dying because there's nothing to do in the game. I still like making a character and covering it in legendaries or covering it in sealed affix items and just absolutely blasting. But I don't know, 2 years down the line, am I going to be as excited about it? Who knows?
Interesting. I do want to bring up another point about legendary items in particular. But it just slipped my mind. Why would I do this to you? Oh no.
Nice.
All right, Cynical, take the wheel. What is my brain doing to me right now?
Oh, okay. So we're just throwing it to me now. Okay,
Oh,
excellent.
no.
So here's something I was thinking about in regards to legendaries and what we've been given now versus say a couple patches ago when we got Chapter 9 added to us. So Chapter 9 came out and the community for the most part had a consensus feeling of holy shit, this content's way too hard. But now that we have legendaries, we're like, wait a minute, no, this content's not hard at all. So it feels like we kind of got, I guess, piecemealed together where the game's supposed to be with Chapter 9, in my opinion, almost. Like, if we had gotten all of this stuff at once and we can make these legendaries and stuff, would we really have thought Chapter 9 was that hard?
It's a good question, isn't it? I mean, maybe. Well, I assume it was probably being worked on parallel, right, alongside.
Right.
So maybe they balanced stuff more around the idea that we'd be running around in legendaries and sealed affix gear, and Act 9 wouldn't be all that scary. But I don't know. We'll never know, will we really? But I don't know. I agree. I think maybe they've actually toned down Act 9 a little bit too much now. Although Crystal Elementals are still kind of scuffed.
I kind of like where Chapter 9 monsters are right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
they're
I
definitely
actually
scarier than everything else, but like,
yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the Chapter 9, like, I actually just did Chapter 9, like, when I'm supposed to, quote unquote, when I was leveling up my Blade Dancer that I did Umbral Blades with, and like, yeah, I died a couple of times, but like, they were times where I died and I was like, oh, well, that was stupid. Why did I do that? As opposed to, holy shit, I got one shot. What the hell happened? I didn't even see it, which is kind of how it was when it first released.
It's always worth noting that, like, when you talk about, you know, bosses like Tier 4 Julra or like these Chapter 9 monsters, you know, they have attack patterns, and like, we, the players, we're gonna become more familiar with them over time, and we're gonna know what to do and specifically what not to do to stay safe. So like the Julra fight, it didn't get any easier, but like, I randomly died to it less because I have like a pattern of where I'm gonna stand, where I'm gonna walk, where I'm gonna put the puddles, stuff like that. And like, maybe a Diamond Matron, like, you know, the first thing she's gonna do is call down a beam of damage over time. So maybe you stay away from her until she uses the beam, and then you engage. Like, things like that kind of become more familiar, and you know, you got to keep track of those when you're, you know, saying I do like this thing, or I don't like this thing, or here's what happened over time and it got easier. Maybe you just got better, right? I'm gonna
I'm a god gamer.
Maybe. I remembered what I wanted to say, so we're gonna bring it up real quick. Talking about the legendary items. One thing that I love about the legendary system is that it kind of brings me into like a hardcore Path of Exile league, or I guess a hardcore anything league, or valing your items or double corrupting your items from Path of Exile, insofar as it removes items from the economy, which I love. So anytime that you can, like, even in a single player game like what we have right now in Last Epoch, if you can take an item that's like strong and take it out of the game, then you have a reason to continue playing or find like a new version of it. So I found like a 1 LP Titan Heart, like a chess piece, and I didn't slam it with the modifier that I wanted. So then I had to go farm another one, and then I had to waste another awesome chess piece, another awesome exalted chess piece, and delete that from the game, and it whiffed. Yep. So now I need to go farm another one of these, another Titan Heart, and I need to go make a new chess piece, a new exalted chess piece, and then delete that from the game. So when you're removing stuff out of the game, I like that. Actually, I like it a lot. I think it gives a lot of longevity, and it makes you feel more connected to your items. So that I'm a big fan of.
I'm very excited to see what people do economy-wise with things like legendaries. And yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure, assuming it's possible, we'll be seeing people selling like dungeon farms, tier 4 dungeon kills and stuff, right? And much like selling corruption altars and things like that. And stacking up and hoarding exalted move speed boots and selling them for massively inflated prices. And I definitely look forward to that. And yeah, being able to remove stuff from the game once multiplayer comes out makes things like that more viable, because like I don't know I don't know what party play is going to be like in LE. None of us do, right? So knowing we already have these item sinks in the game is definitely a good thing.
Now we just need more gold sinks.
Oh, don't get me started on gold.
Oh,
Like
man.
eventually,
Jesus.
you know, when everyone restarts, we're all gonna go back. All your 20 million gold is gonna disappear, smog, and then we're gonna start from zero. But like eventually, you're gonna build it up. So like we need some kind of gold sink to get it out of there. Otherwise, someone's gonna be like, "Oh, I've got a 1 LP Apathy's Maw, 1 trillion gold." It's like no, get. It's one of the things about Path of Exile, right? Like, listen, Path of Exile's got plenty of faults, and I love to make fun of them. But like one of the things that's core to Path of Exile is that they didn't want gold in their economy. They wanted all of the things that you would trade with the currencies to be crafting objects as well, so that you would use them, right? So I guess one of the downsides of that is like when you pick up an Exalt off the ground, sometimes you just don't use it and you look at it like it's money instead of looking at it like an Exalt. But that's like its own problem altogether. So the flip side of that is a game like Last Epoch, where like we know so far the intent that the developers have is that the Bazaar, when I'm trading with you in multiplayer when it finally comes out, is going to be gold based. So like what's my gold gonna be used for? Like I'm gonna trade with you, or I'm going to use it in order to do something? Is there gonna be another use for gold? I don't know.
You support the gambler and his family. What do you mean?
The gambler's fine, but like, get out of here. The gambler's better than I thought it was going to be after the crafting update, but like, get out of here.
You really think the
20
gambler's
million
fine?
gold?
Like, actually though, you think the gambler current form is fine?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you crafted anything with a gambler this patch?
Yeah.
I have not.
I mean,
Not even
how
close.
often do you go to the gambler? Like, there's so many other ways of getting gear too.
About 6 million gold into I think it was a pair of boots the other day, just trying to get something usable for a werebear. They just didn't want to happen.
Well, just go play the game for 20 minutes. I promise you'll find something.
I definitely should have. But that in itself is like, why would I gamble then?
Good. That's the perfect. Why would I gamble? It's so bad. Good. Don't gamble.
But then you don't think the gambler is good, do you? If
this is fine. It's good for item acquisition. You're leveling. You hit level 25. You buy 2 gold rings, and now you have some elemental resistance. It's perfect.
But is that the purpose of the gambler in the dev's eyes? I don't know.
It's a good question. I hate the gambler, and the worse he gets, the better I'll tell you that he is.
Okay, I understand now. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Got you.
As long as you know where I'm coming from.
Also, actually, just to say something about what Cynical Squid said earlier, sorry, I have not done. Oh, bye, Graham. I have not done Act 9 since like early on last patch. Like on a new character, I just haven't done it.
You don't want your 1 vitality, 1 strength, 1 intelligence. You don't want that?
I mean, that was added this patch, right? I should start doing that.
Correct. Yeah, that was this patch.
Yeah.
I tend to do.
My old characters already have it.
I do chapter 9 off stream after I'm done for the night while I'm watching whoever I posted, and I just like sit back, relax on my level 80, 90, 95 character, and I just like walk through chapter 9. It's nice and easy.
Yeah, it. Is that a good thing though, that we're waiting until like the high 80s before doing the final chapter of the campaign, which is scaled to level 60?
I mean, even lagging is useless right now because all you can get all your skill points that you need and all your inventory slots or all your idle slots you need before lagging. So even I go too far because I haven't established good habits yet. But you can stop the campaign before the lagging fight and then just like have everything you need.
Yeah, I don't think I've killed lag on this patch. I get to like, is it Hiaboria, the ice place? Out there, you can have all the passives and all the idle slots. I've just been doing that. You're like level 40-ish, which is really fine to go into monos, and
It's a little
So,
early for me, for my preferences
yeah,
in
maybe
hardcore.
not on
I would go
hardcore.
like
Yeah, I was
45.
saying. Yeah,
45, put on some
hardcore.
for the Hyoborian boots. The cold res
Yeah.
boots are a nice thing to have. You walk into to monoliths for the
I
first time.
don't know how I managed it. The last character I leveled, but I didn't even have to go do the Wengari Fortress this patch.
Were you power leveling at like level 30? Jay. What?
No, I mean, I didn't. There was no passive points to gain. I'd done the side quests. I'd got the idle slots. I'd done. Oh, well, maybe I'm misremembering. No, I'm pretty sure I didn't have to do it.
I was saying,
I
like
don't
on my Blade Dancer, I had to do Wingari Fortress to finish off the last like idle slot thing. But like after that, I was just like, all right, cool, I'm out now.
Do you do Corrupted Lake?
Not always. It depends on how I'm feeling at the time when I get to it.
That might have been it, because I like have gotten a terrible habit of always doing Corrupted Lake. Always.
I know what the Corrupted Lake is because I did it by accident once. I know that it exists.
It's so long. It's so long.
What a strange quest.
It takes forever.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us tonight here on Last Week of Epoch. I'd like to thank you again, Jay, for joining us. Appreciate having you on as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Not a problem. And with that, we're going to say goodnight, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one.